Greetings gamers, ex-gamers and friends and family of gamers. Especially friends and family of gamers, this video is mostly for you. Well, it's day 31 of my Game Free January, and so far I've made it through without any withdrawal symptoms. Obviously I can't speak for today because today is still in the process of happening, but yesterday was fine. I had no temptation to game whatsoever and none of the withdrawal symptoms I was looking out for in the Hooked on Games blog. This is the final video of my challenge, but I will post a video tomorrow letting you know how I got on today. But I think it's pretty safe to say that that will be a celebration video for me having passed the challenge with flying colours. Now, yesterday was a good day, despite there being a lot to do. Lots of interruptions and unforeseen changes of plans. I wasn't remotely flustered, let alone irritable, and I think I took everything in my stride, although possibly my family might disagree. I don't know, I'll have to ask them. I didn't fantasise about games at all. However, my sleep wasn't as restful as I would have liked in the evening, although I had a great night's sleep the day before, so I woke up refreshed on the morning of the 30th. The evening of the 30th, however, I had trouble getting to sleep, but that's down to a mild tummy ache, which is probably down to my increased portion sizes. On the reduced calorie challenge, I did as I said I'd do. I didn't snack at all and still only had 2 meals, but I tried to make more normal portion sizes, and I managed to finish my breakfast barely, but my tummy ached a little afterwards. It was too much food. Again, for dinner, instead of my full normal portion, I had sort of halfway between my half-sized portion and a normal portion. So that's sort of like a 3/4 portion, but even that was a little bit difficult to eat. I guess despite my new smaller portion sizes that I've gotten used to looking disappointingly small, my stomach had actually adapted to the size meal after just 10 days. The results were encouraging. Even though I put on a little weight, I actually dropped by 0.1% body fat. That means I've put on muscle, not fat. Now if I can get my weight down as well as my fat percentage down, that would be awesome. Today I'm going back to my half-sized portions, but increasing to 3 meals a day instead of just 2. Still no snacking, of course. I'm supplementing my diet with exercise, as there's no point watching my portion sizes if I'm just going to let my muscles waste away through lack of activity. Now in today's video, I want to talk to you about what you as a friend or family member can do if you notice your loved one has what you think might be a gaming addiction. Firstly, before we get into this, please make sure you've watched yesterday's video entitled Am I a Gaming Addict Day 30, where I go into details about what is and is not evidence of gaming addiction. Also, before we get into this in detail, please understand that I am not a psychologist nor a psychiatrist, and I am not an expert on addiction. I am, however, a pretty decent gamer with over 20 years of gaming under my belt. Now, the experts will know more about addiction than me, but I would wager I know more about gaming than them. Take my advice as it is offered in a spirit of trying to relate what I've learned about addiction during my month off gaming. This advice basically summarises everything I've learned in the previous 30 videos. If you are absolutely certain that your loved one has a serious gaming problem even after watching yesterday's video, my first piece of advice is don't panic. One of the biggest mistakes we can make when we care very deeply for someone is to emotionally overreact because we are in fear of the other person's well-being, and even though we act out of love, sometimes our instinct is counterproductive. In the case of this asker on Quora, the approach, though totally understandable, has effectively alienated the parent from the gaming child. Rather than pick apart what this person did wrong, I want to focus in this video about what we can do that will actually help the addicted gamer. The first and most important step is to stay calm. That may mean delaying talking about or addressing the problem for a day or two while you deal with your own emotions. The addict is in a vulnerable state, and if you want to be the one to help, you have to be completely centered emotionally yourself. Remember, addiction is a chronic problem that has been going on for years. Another day or two while you gather your thoughts and emotions won't make any difference. The next move will depend on whether we're dealing with an adult gaming addict or a child gaming addict. If you're dealing with an adult gaming addict, my advice would be to try to schedule some time together so you can just talk. When you do manage to get some time together, go for a walk, go to the movies, go out for dinner, go down the pub, or anywhere fun that doesn't involve gaming. While you're out, talk about anything you like, so long as the conversation doesn't get deep or serious, and so long as the conversation doesn't involve gaming. If the gamer raises the issue of gaming, keep it light and try to steer the conversation away from gaming. It may feel like you're trying to avoid an issue, but what you're actually trying to do is reintroduce the person that has been lost in a virtual world for a long time to reality, and show that person that there is fun to be had outside of gaming. The golden rule is show, don't tell. People who are hurting don't need to be told to have fun. They need to be shown how to have fun. Now, if the person is a child and you are a parent and you have seen the child's grades slipping due to excessive gaming, and the concerning behaviour has been going on for at least a year, and the child's gaming is getting to the point where the child has no life outside of games and school is suffering, then the key goal is to change the family dynamic. This may mean introducing regular meal times and being specific about the planned meal times and insisting that meal times are taken together. Chances are, if the child is hooked on gaming, they are eating their meals hurriedly at their keyboard or controller while gaming. If a regime can be introduced that forces the child to eat meals with the family, then that takes the child away from the game for a period of time. I would advise keeping meal times fun so that the child wants to be there. If the child won't respect regular meal times, then I would recommend introducing rules like the internet will be turned off at the modem 5 minutes before meal times to encourage the child to attend meal times at the correct time. The goal is to reintroduce the gaming addicted child to human face-to-face contact. After meals, if the child is struggling with homework, why not spend a couple of hours helping the child do the homework so that the child gets into a routine where certain time is dedicated to doing homework? The problem with an addict is that addicts have little or no self-control when it comes to the addiction, which is why friends and family have to be that self-control for them, at least in the first instance, until the child develops enough self-control themselves. What you don't want to do, though, is introduce an overbearing authoritarian dynamic into the family, which will build up resentment and lead to rebellion. This is counterproductive. A leader leads by example and inspires followers, whereas a ruler lays down the law and punishes disobedience. A parent has the unenviable task of being both ruler and leader. I would recommend being mostly leader and only rule when necessary. Another suggestion is to maybe get involved in the gamer's online life yourself. If your child is lost in a virtual world, why not go in after him or her? Maybe invest an hour or two playing the same game as the child so that you can build up a stronger relationship with the child. Later on, you could try to get the child to do other non-gaming activities, like go to the gym or join a club or society at school. The point is that you aren't taking the games away from the child. You're taking the child away from the games. This is achieved by filling up the child's hours with non-gaming activities. When the child feels you have a strong relationship, the child may start to open up to you about real-life problems he or she is facing, such as being bullied at school, or feeling low all the time, or just having low self-esteem, or poor body image, or whatever other anxieties children can have. Whatever the problem, once it's identified and out in the open, it can be addressed and resolved. There are plenty of websites available for whatever struggles the child is going through, and if there is nowhere else to turn, your local GP is always a good starting place. What I've learned so far from this month of studying addiction is that it's far easier to help an addict overcome an addiction if the original factors that drove the person to addiction in the first place have been addressed. Of course, not all addicts are hiding from reality. It could just be that the child is so enamored with gaming because it's so much more fun than real life. If the person you're worried about is not a child, the principle is the same, but the methods will have to be different. Instead of focusing on the addiction, you want to gently coax the addict into the real world using subtle distraction tactics. Now, you might feel that what's the point of having a meal together, or watching a movie together, or going down the cinema, or going to the theatre or ballet or ice skating, or just down the pub if the game is only going to go back to gaming again. But the point is, these activities don't involve gaming and are pleasant and regular, so that the addict comes to look forward to these times together. When an hour or two has turned into 3 or 4 hours, and you feel your relationship with a gaming adult has grown to the point where you feel confident talking about problems, try to gently and discreetly inquire if there are any problems at work or in his or her life. Again, if the person isn't willing to talk about it, just back off and try again later. This is a trust building exercise, so don't try to do too much too soon. When the person finally opens up about the nature of his or her personal demons that he or she is hiding from in a virtual world, then look at ways to help. In the case of adults, it's often something serious that may be beyond the ability of friends and family to help with, in which case the priority is to encourage the gaming addict to seek professional counselling. Before you can do this though, you have to build up considerable trust, which is where all those apparently meaningless walks, meals, movies, small talks, etc. come in. As meaningless as they may seem, what you are actually doing is weakening the hold the games have on the addict while strengthening the bond of trust between you. Now, from what I've learned, there seems to be 2 schools of thought on what to be done next. One school of thought is to remove the addict's safety blanket, and whatever underlying problems there are will bubble to the surface and can get addressed. I personally favour the second school of thought. Before an addict can have any hope of successfully overcoming an addiction, the original cause that drove the addict to addiction must be resolved. Sometimes there is no original cause, and the addict should enjoy the experience of gaming so much that the rest of the world seems to melt away in the background. But sometimes the addict is escaping reality because of something horrible. Whatever that thing is must be resolved before, not after, the gaming issue is addressed. Now, believe me, I am not exaggerating here. Here's the ugly truth. If you take away a person's comfort blanket to force them to deal with their demons, there is no guarantee the person will win the fight. Sometimes the demons win, with tragic consequences. So before you force someone to face their demons, make very sure they have a strong social support group and that they are empowered and equipped to take on the fight of their life, which may very well end their life. Even if you successfully overcame all your personal demons, doesn't mean your child or partner or friend will. Remember well, sometimes the demons win. Of course, this dire warning might make you tempted to not bother to address the addiction in the first place, but that could be just as tragic. In fact, the longer a person is trapped in an addiction, the harder it is to get into recovery and stay in recovery. My advice is, don't focus on the addiction, try to focus on the underlying problem that caused the person to retreat into gaming. If there is no underlying problem, or if the underlying problem has been thoroughly dealt with, then, and only then, address the addiction. Attempts to address the addiction prematurely will often result in evasion and erode trust, so timing is everything. The key here is to distinguish between gaming addiction and problem gaming. Problem gaming just interferes with real life in a negative way. Addicted gaming can't be stopped. Once you have the gamer's trust, and this applies as much to adolescents as to adults, is to encourage them to try out my month off gaming challenge. If they complete the month off gaming challenge without relapse easily, then their gaming was never an addiction, even if it was a problem. If they complete the month off gaming challenge easily, then rest assured that they can carry on gaming and be in control of their gaming. Focus on finding a balance between gaming and real world hobbies and interests and responsibilities. If, on the other hand, the gamer can't complete the month off gaming challenge easily, but has all sorts of withdrawal symptoms or winds up relapsing after a few days or a week, then you will have successfully shown the gamer the nature of his or her addiction, and since you have taken the time to build up the trust, there shouldn't be much in the way of resentment. Once the gamer has seen the nature of his or her addiction, you can ask the gamer to come with you to see a doctor with a view to being referred to a therapist. There are also support forums available online, and I've made a point of trying to advertise a couple on my videos every day wherever I can find space. These forums are based on the 12-step program pioneered by Alcoholics Anonymous, and it has proved so helpful that it's been adopted by many other addiction support groups. If you can't find a support group near you for gaming addiction, then contact your local Alcoholics Anonymous and ask them if they can give you some advice about setting up a support group for people addicted to computer games. Lastly, I would really like to stress that addiction is a disease, not a choice. It can't be cured. It can, however, be treated. An addict will always have an unhealthy relationship with the thing he or she is addicted to and will require a lifetime of self-control. Addicts are either in recovery or in relapse, but they are never cured, so never assume that the addict's struggle with addiction has come to an end. Remember, every day the addict doesn't play a video game is a victory. Don't be tempted to think that the day-to-day struggle against the temptation to relapse will be easy, and don't go putting temptation in the addict's way because you think they're not an addict anymore. Buying a gaming addict a video game is like buying a bottle of booze for a recovering alcoholic. Now, if you feel that you might have a problem with excessive gaming and are worried you might be developing an addiction, why not follow along or try out this simple test of going game free for a month? Remember, it can be any month and you don't have to start on the 1st. Why not post a comment to let me know how you're doing, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. But as for me, hopefully soon to be slightly less big fat hairy 30 days and counting non-gamers, soon to have finished the 31-day challenge, I'll look forward to seeing you in another video.